Level 1, Lesson 3. The subconscious is a naggy friend. Let's start with an interesting fact. We actually don't know where consciousness as a construct is located within the human brain. Yet we, as Homo sapiens, are consciously aware of ourselves. In fact, Homo sapiens literally means thinking man. I define consciousness as what you perceive and the meanings that you assign to it. The great Bob Proctor has a saying that I'll never forget. He said, when you change the way that you look at things, the things that you look at will change. I remember a light bulb going off in my head as I was struggling to make sense of that flip-floppy phrase. Then, a quantum shift happened within me because I realized it means that once we reframe our reality, reality itself will conform to our new framework. So the question is, how then do you change the way that you look at things and thereby reframe your reality? Well, the answer is with the power of your subconscious mind. The subconscious part of our mind is the part that houses the code which runs our self-image. And although our self-image exists beyond the subconscious into our conscious mind and beyond, if we want to edit that code to manifest new, successful outcomes, then that's where the magic happens, as they say. Think about this. You are currently reading this web page interface, which to you appears as words, images, and sounds. This is the equivalent of your conscious mind. However, the code running this page behind the scenes looks radically different. So just as a challenge, you can hit the keystrokes Command U and you will see the web page code exposed like the Matrix. Basically the internet's subconscious mind. Or try Option Command I and you can actually edit the bits of HTML and CSS for fun. And don't worry, it actually won't change the page. The subconscious mind is way more complex than all of that. It processes over 11 million bits per second, whereas our conscious mind only processes between 50 and 100 bits per second. That's 200 times faster. The part that others don't teach you is that what our subconscious mind takes in as far as information is not only limited to the eyes, but also the rest of our body and even vibrational dimensional energy. That's why understanding this Meta-5 manifestation concept is so revolutionary, because it is virtually all-encompassing in scope. Have you ever sat and thought something like, what should I do about blank issue or problem? And then received a quiet nudge or thought, something from your gut. Well, that's your subconscious mind responding. You see, if we learn to communicate with our subconscious mind, not only can we reprogram it, but we can learn to harness its innate wish to guide us and provide us with answers. So try it right now. Prompt your subconscious mind with a question. Ask it anything you like. However, before you ask the question, take a few deep breaths. Try and make the exhale longer than your inhale for this to work physiologically. To quiet your mind and engage your parasympathetic nervous system, calm your conscious mind, and then wait to see what responses you get. I do this all the time, and you may get responses immediately. It may take some time, but you will always get an answer. When we learn to tune our conscious awareness to our subconscious, it becomes the ultimate teacher. Last year, I thought that I would like a kayak since I live on the water, yet felt like I didn't want to buy a new one, and not because of the price. I didn't want it to become another thing that I only use a few times, and we can all relate to this. So I prompted my subconscious mind with the question of the kayak, and I instantly received a flash of an image of me being connected to the water in the marina near to where I live, and I had an associated feeling of confidence and happiness in that moment. 2 days later, a buddy of mine walks up to me while we were out walking our dogs and literally says to me in his opening line, "Hey, I have something I've been wanting to talk to you about. I have a kayak I want to give you. Actually, I have two." And so the culmination of the same thing happened to me the other day as I was writing this, but with a stand-up paddleboard. I had been thinking about a stand-up paddleboard and how I wanted to get one. And I manifested a free stand-up paddleboard that is 11 feet long, in prime condition, and amazing because my girl and I have been using an inflatable stand-up board for about 6 months now and have been wanting to try out a solid board with a hard deck. And now we have one. And you can do the same thing with houses, with money, relationships, whatever you believe, which you will program as your new self-image. It's about having a transcendent feeling of love about something. So before we dive deeper and give you techniques to talk about your subconscious and give it new instructions to encode a new reality, a bit of context first. Okay, I like to say that we have 3 brains and 3 minds. So if you follow along, our 3 brains are 1, the neocortex, which is literally our new brain, and our neocortex thinks in words and it reasons. This is rationally and logically thinking. This is what you are aware of in your neocortex. However, this brain does not have to tell you the truth, okay? And our second brain is the limbic system, which is our emotional brain. Okay, so the limbic system exists around the paleo cortex. And the paleo cortex stimulates a drive which causes an emotion in your limbic system. So now you kind of have the physiology of how emotions and thoughts are housed in your brain. But we also have a very, very deep-seated part of our brain that is kind of way beyond our conscious control in many respects of our lives. And this is called the paleo cortex. This is our reptile brain. It's often referred to as the reptile brain because it's that part of our anatomy that is so ancient and derivational to our functionality as a species, actually. So this is our primal brain. Our paleo cortex is our primal brain, right? And as one of my mentors summed it up as, can I eat it? Can I fornicate with it? Do I run from it? Or do I attack it? Is literally the level at which our paleo cortex plays. So this cortex is basically tied to our fight or flight sympathetic nervous system. So those are our 3 brains, okay? And we'll cover these in detail. The neocortex, limbic system, paleo cortex, okay? In addition, I sort of like to add the framework, sort of an overlapping 3 minds concept. Okay, so we have 3 minds, which is our conscious mind, subconscious mind, and unconscious mind. Okay, so our conscious mind is our rational mind. Okay, these are the thoughts that we are aware of, our perception. These are the thoughts that are kind of floating around our head at any given time of the day. These are thoughts that can be shifted to focus on new inputs, which is important for us as far as purposeful manifestors. We can shift and focus our thoughts because where our thoughts and energy goes, energy out, energy in, energy out. Our conscious mind processes a meager 50 to 100 bits of information per second. When we compare that to the subconscious mind, it's going to seem very meager indeed. And the important part to remember about the conscious mind, and it's counterintuitive, is that these are not our dominant thoughts, because we're often subject to our dominant thoughts, and those dominant thoughts are carriers of our beliefs. But our conscious mind is not our dominant thought, contrary to common belief. Okay, now we're moving into the subconscious mind. This is what I call our meta mind. And this mind, our subconscious mind, actually produces our dominant thoughts. These are deep-seated down below our consciousness, okay? It's the way we believe. And you can think about dominant thoughts as what activates the code, your self-image. So this mind deals with suppressed emotions and early wiring from childhood, okay, as does the unconscious mind. And there is a firewall between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind called the Limon, which is the derivation of the term subliminal, which means below the conscious awareness of this firewall. And we can access that, this subliminal connection, okay? And that's what we're going to do in this course. So this processes, our subconscious mind processes at a whopping 10 million bits of information a second. That's a lot. And again, it's not just ocular through your eyes, but it's also sensory through your skin and gustatory and all those different types of things. So we can access this subconscious mind via many avenues, many bridges, many doorways, if you want to say it like that, via suggestion. We can access the subconscious mind via affirmations, hypnosis, and other bridges or doors from the conscious mind. We enter through this firewall, and we can play around with this. And that's a lot of what we're going to do in the course is going to be centered around the subconscious. But we also have our unconscious mind, which is interesting because it's called the body mind in a way, or I call it the body mind, because it's very much tied to our proprioception and our somatic, kinesthetic being, physiology. So our unconscious mind is the mind that controls homeostasis, which controls our body functions. And a lot of what we have in terms of the fight, or this sort of like when we're trying to manifest this feeling of unworthiness, or something's unaccomplishable, this is because of our subconscious or unconscious wanting to keep us in this level of homeostasis. And you can relate and connect the thermostat metaphor of us sort of changing things, right? Wherever we set our thermostat is our homeostasis. This is like our home base of where our mind wants to be, okay? So our unconscious mind is also the mind that is linked to survival and defenses, often from childhood, traumas and things that are connected to our events in our childhood. Our unconscious mind processes thoughts that are farthest away from our conscious perception, okay? Farthest away from our conscious perception. And they exist in the deep recesses of your mind, often as what is repressed. Repressed memories and repressed emotions, because our mind houses events as emotions. The unconscious and subconscious are very tricky to disassociate in psychology. And the unconscious mind is connected to our autonomic nervous system. So in reflecting back on this list, the list about our 3 minds and 3 brains, there are several things to notice about this list. The first, okay, is that each number represents a crucial ordering. So 1 being the brain or mind at the surface of our immediate awareness, 2 represents a middle layer that connects the other 2, and 3 being the deepest, more recessed brain or mind. So they're crucial orders, okay? Like layers of a cake on top and the bottom, okay? Or sedimentary layers, whatever. And the second thing to notice about this list is they both kind of describe the same thing, but from different angles, okay? 3 brains, 3 minds. It's kind of looking at the same object through different lenses. Almost like form versus function. Metric versus standard, Fahrenheit versus Celsius, so on and so forth, okay? They measure the same things, but from different metrics. And the brain list is essentially neurological, and the mind list is essentially psychological, okay? So it's kind of complementary. Both lists overlap in many ways and are non-isomorphic, which means they're not 100% the same, but although they describe the same thing. So the third thing we want to look at on this list is that we want to differentiate between our conscious voice and our subconscious voice. So our reality is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now think about this. Spoken by our subconscious and experienced by our consciousness. In a sense, it's a feedback loop. Reread that sentence and let that literally sink into you until you understand it. It's a very, very important concept. Our reality is a self-fulfilling prophecy, spoken by our subconscious and experienced by our consciousness. We all have beliefs and ideas that exist in both the conscious and subconscious mind. If the things we want to manifest, our goals, hopes, and wishes, do not become beliefs, then they will not manifest into our reality. So it is absolutely critical to understand the 3 minds and 3 brains concept, because when we are transferring our goals to our subconscious mind to become upgraded beliefs about ourselves, our new self-image, we will inevitably encounter negative mind chatter. And as one of my NLP mentors calls it, that naggy voice, which is basically our Paleo Cortex or subconscious mind doing its job to keep you on a path which it considers the path of least resistance. Okay, and that's kind of the mechanics. And once you are able to unravel the mechanics, you unravel the mystery of what's going on when you get those naggy thoughts, and then you can defeat them and you can better them. Okay, so right now I want you to go back to the 3 brains, 3 minds list and look at the very first bullet point under the subconscious mind and read it again. This should be an absolute revelation to you that our dominant thoughts reside in our subconscious mind, not in our conscious mind, and are very, very powerful. So let's examine this. Have you ever done affirmations only to be confronted by those voices, those creaky, naggy, irritable voices, negative voices, right? Have you ever gotten discouraged by them? If you have, and that's okay. I mean, it's natural. Basically, it's our own biology. It's your own biology kicking back at you. We assume that our conscious thoughts are dominant, but they are not. And now that you know in what part of your brain and consciousness it resides, you can now begin to control it and manifest easier by swapping a naggy voice for a positive one. And please also understand that dominance is not the same as control, okay? I want you to consider this and really rationalize this out. Our subconscious thoughts are dominant for an evolutionary reason, but for the very same reason, our conscious minds are in control of our subconscious. You see, as I said in lesson 1, your reality is electrochemical. Our thoughts and emotions are transmitted along over 100 trillion synapses in your brain. Most of those synapses are developed in early childhood and then go through a process known as synaptic pruning to create more efficient pathways for our brain's neural efficiency. So those nagging subconscious thoughts are part of that neural network and are both electrical, they give off an electric and by consequence a magnetic field, and a chemical because they can trigger the release of things like dopamine or cortisol. And those networks also connect neurons in the brain to the ones in the body, like our autonomic nervous system. So our brain synapses can be rewired. Okay, they're wired, but they can be rewired. And you may know this term as neuroplasticity. This is the process of rewiring your brain, creating new neural pathways. Okay, so our brain's neurons and synapses are elastic and can be recruited en masse to multiply the effects of the rewiring process. Anyone that lifts weights knows this as a compound lift, an exercise such as squatting that works more than one muscle group. And we can relate what we know scientifically about hypertrophy with neurology. The famous law with regard to neuroplasticity is Hebb's law, which states that cells that fire together wire together. I love it. It's very eloquent. And I love that phrase so much. But this is you becoming the cause that will create your effect. Okay, I'm going from professor mode into coach mode. That phrase so much. But this is you becoming the cause that will create your effect. Okay, I'm going from professor mode into coach mode. And here's our game plan. Here's what you're going to do for the duration of level 1. This is what you will focus all of your attention and intention on, okay? For some, these techniques will come quicker than others, and do not get discouraged if they do not. Have belief in yourself. We will be coupling these techniques, which focus on the mind, with others that focus on your body and the language used to communicate between all of these systems. Well, what is that language? Hint, that language is not English or any of the other 7,000 languages in the world. We will also traverse dimensions and recruit mentors to your manifestation team. But first, let's talk to that naggy friend/teammate to get on the same plan, hug it out, and get to manifesting your goals. Okay, so here you go. You're going to 1, set your goals. Define the things you want in this section. You are then going to focus your conscious awareness on the things you want. After that, you will access the subconscious to program the things you want and begin with simple commands. After that, we're going to be introducing emotions, control of your emotions, and you're going to integrate those into your commands. After that, we're going to get you to open your imagination, and you must have the right emotions to fuel the imagination to act as a coefficient to those commands. It's the quantum operator. And finally, we're going to create feedback loops, which subconsciously access and update the subconscious mind as you go along. So, right now, let's set your course goals. Write your course goal or goals out on a piece of paper somewhere. You can write it in a text document. However, to me, there is something so timeless and powerful about the connection between the hand and the brain when actually writing versus simply typing. So keep that goal somewhere special where you can refer to it often. I've taped my goals to my bathroom mirror or placed it in my kitchen where I will see it every day as I pass by. And you don't have to do that, but you can if it helps you stay focused and inspired by it. Also, share your course goal in the comment section below and in the forum. This will materialize your goal in a way that has now become real by crossing the dimensional plane of your imagination and emotions into physical space. More energy is attracted to it in this way. And remember that this course and forum is a safe place for you to share, like a gestation nursery for your beautifully conceived desires.